I think the thing that's really important about hospice care is it's unique to that particular person. So when people talk to me about what is hospice care, what does everybody get, what is the recipe, there is no recipe because it's different. And that's why, to an extent, hospices break the rules all the time. And it is different from hospitals, which are primarily there to cure people. So people will die in hospital, and some people want to die in hospital, and it's the best place for some people to die. But the thing about coming out into hospice or hospice care at home is that there can be a room full of flowers, and people can be wheeled out into the garden to have the sun on their face even when they're dying. And we've had penguins in hospices, and we've had donkeys, and we've had an elephant. And recently I saw somebody who was dying who had a little monkey on the bed because he'd spent his life around monkeys, and the hospice said he was the most welcome and inquisitive visitor. So it's whatever that person needs. We don't have to really worry about health and safety, because the point is that they're at the end of life, and we always say this, it's about what matters to them and what their goals are, making sure their goals are realistic. Even if you're very, very sick, if you want one last visit to the shops with your daughter and you want to have a gin and tonic and you want to buy a new top, why not? Let's see if we can make that happen. We're not going to worry that that's going to make you feel worse, because at the end of the day you're dying. So if you want to get out and do that and have that last memory, then the hospice will bend over backwards. They'll rush to get weddings ready, and people will get married in the last 12 hours of life because it's what they wanted. It's about making people's dreams come true, and it's not about sending everyone up in a hot air balloon or whatever it might be. Everybody is different. But the hospices will break some of those rules because we're in a really different situation where every minute counts, and you can't go back and make it right. You only have one shot at this, and that's where the hospice staff are really good. But I have to say, it's not all about hospices. To make those things happen, they have to work with a whole range of people in the community, and they'll have to work with the ambulance drivers, and they'll have to work with the consultants and the GPs, and they'll have to work with the local vicars or the local mosque or whoever it might be to make those things happen. They'll have to get drivers, they'll have to get volunteers out. So, it really does take a village to bring about a good death. And whilst hospices can help with that and come up with some of the ideas and make some of those things happen because they've got the buildings and they've got the nurses and the support, it's really about everyone coming together. And that's about changing attitudes. But people are amazing when somebody's reaching the end of life. They really are, about making these things happen, which is why we have so many good stories. I think hospices have a real part to play in showing that death isn't something to be frightened of. And especially with children's hospices, they have what's called butterfly suites. So the child will be there after death and the family can stay there. So the child will have their own cool room with a cool blanket. It doesn't feel particularly cold, so it's not unwelcoming. And the family can stay there, but they can go and have bereavement support with the child. They can be holding the child's hand. The hospice will treat the child as though it's still alive. They'll go in, they'll talk to the child, they'll brush the child's hair, they'll wash the child every day, make sure the bedding is comfortable. But it's done in a really supportive way, and then there's that transition to the funeral. And I heard a lovely story recently where it was terribly tragic circumstances. A husband had killed his wife and then killed himself, and the children had to be told. But the children's hospice stepped up to the plate. They'd never done anything like this before, but they created a child-friendly space for two very young children in the hospice where mum's body was brought back and the children were told what had happened to mum and dad, and the coroner was involved in releasing the body, and everybody made this happen. So the children had the choice. Mummy's behind the door, do you want to go and see mummy? And they did, and they sat down and they had bereavement support with their mum's body, which helped them to accept something that was terribly shocking, because that morning when they went to school they had two parents and they were being brought home from school to be told mummy and daddy are no longer here in the most terrible circumstances. But the hospice worked with professionals and worked with the coroner and worked with the police to make something happen that was right for those children and the best possible support they could have had under the circumstances.